I still remember the exact moment my phone buzzed and my entire world tilted in the strangest, most infuriating way. It was early morning, the sun had barely climbed over the horizon, and I was sipping coffee in my own kitchen, miles away from the beach house that had become both my escape and my biggest responsibility. The message was short, something so seemingly harmless that at first I didn't even grasp how insane the situation truly was. "Hey, we're here. Where's the spare key?" That was it. No context, no warning, no permission asked, just a casual message from my older sister Jenna, as if she had merely arrived at my apartment for a friendly visit and not at the private property I had worked my butt off to buy and maintain. And the worst part, they weren't alone. Because when I didn't respond fast enough, my phone pinged again. This time a photo of my entire family standing right in front of my beach house door, luggage in hand, smiling like tourists about to check into a resort I apparently ran for free. That was the moment the anger kicked in. That was the moment I realized something was very, very wrong. Tell me honestly. If your own family just decided to show up at your property without asking and tried to move in like they owned the place, would you have done what I did next? Because even now, I wonder if maybe, somehow I overreacted or maybe I didn't react enough. When I tell this story from the beginning, people assume I hate my family or that we were always dysfunctional. But the truth is, I used to be the person who bent over backwards for them. I was the youngest, the successful one, the one who somehow became responsible for everybody else's expectations. My parents were good people, strict but supportive, and my siblings, well, supportive wasn't exactly their strongest trait. Jenna, the eldest, always felt like she was owed something from the world simply because she existed. Then there was my brother Adam, the middle child, the self-proclaimed ideas guy, which was just a polite way of saying he changed jobs every 2 months and blamed society for all of it. Meanwhile, I was on the grind for years, studying, saving, burning myself out just to get ahead. The beach house was the first thing I bought for myself after finally hitting a stable financial point. A small, serene place tucked away on the quieter side of the coastline. It wasn't a massive mansion or anything extravagant, but for me, it represented freedom, peace, a reward for years of sacrifice. And maybe that's why my family felt entitled to it. Because they had watched me struggle, but had never really understood what those struggles meant. They thought success came with a share with everyone even if they didn't contribute clause. I had let small things slide for years. Borrowing my car without asking, inviting themselves to dinners I paid for, casually mentioning my salary to extended relatives. But the beach house, that was my line. That was supposed to be mine alone. But the problem was that I never communicated that clearly. I just assumed respect came naturally, especially when it involved private property. Turns out it didn't. When I bought the place, I only gave copies of the keys to my parents because they were the least likely to misuse it, and honestly, I trusted them. It was meant for emergencies only. What I didn't know was that my mother, in her attempt to keep the family close, had given my sister a copy without telling me. And Jenna, being Jenna, apparently decided that since the place existed and since I wasn't using it full time, it was somehow fair game for whoever in the family needed a break. This wasn't the first time she had tried to push boundaries. A few months earlier, she had asked if she could borrow the house for her friend's bridal shower. I said no, because I had work stuff stored there, and because it was my space, not a community center. She got upset, guilt-tripped me, said I didn't care about anyone but myself. But at the time, I brushed it off as her usual dramatics. I didn't think she'd ever actually go behind my back. And so, when she texted that morning asking for the spare key, I felt my heart drop into my stomach. I ignored the message at first, hoping maybe it was some kind of misunderstanding. But then the call started. First Jenna, then my mom, then Adam, one after the other. They were really doing this. I called my mom back first, because she was usually the most reasonable, and I needed to hear her explanation before I exploded. But the moment she picked up, the disappointment washed over me. "Oh, good sweetheart," she said cheerfully, as if nothing about this situation was insane. "They're already there at the beach house. They just need the spare key. I told them you usually leave it under the porch mat." My jaw actually clenched. "Mom," I said slowly, trying desperately to keep my voice steady, "why are they there? Who said they could go?" She paused, not guilty or shocked, but confused like I was the one being difficult. "Well, Jenna said you weren't using it, and Adam needed a place to clear his mind after losing his job again, and you know your sister has been stressed. I thought it would be good for them. They deserve a break too." I felt heat rising in my chest. "Mom," I repeated, this time sharper, "this is my property. They can't just show up without asking me." She sighed, annoyed. "You're being dramatic. It's family. You act like we're strangers trying to rob the place." But that was exactly the point. They were trying to use something that wasn't theirs. And they didn't even bother asking. I hung up and drove faster than I should have. My mind kept looping the same thoughts. Why didn't they ask? Why didn't they respect me? Why did they always treat my things like community property? Why was I always expected to say yes? Every mile closer to the house made me angrier and more hurt. Because underneath that frustration was the sad, exhausting reality that they didn't see me as a person with boundaries. They saw me as a resource, a convenience, an extension of themselves. When I finally reached the house, I parked a little down the street so they wouldn't notice me right away. I needed a second to breathe, to prepare myself. But the minute I saw them, standing on my porch, jiggling the doorknob trying to find the spare key, my mother believed I had left out. I snapped. I approached quietly at first, and I could hear them talking. Jenna was complaining about the heat. "He should have been here by now," she said, rolling her eyes. "He's so selfish. Probably asleep or pretending not to see the messages." Adam was sitting on the porch railing, scrolling through his phone like he was waiting for room service. "Whatever," he muttered. "Once we're inside, I'm taking the master bedroom. I need the peace." That was it. That was the moment I stepped forward. The reaction was immediate. Jenna's eyes went wide, then instantly narrowed in annoyance. Finally, she snapped. "What took you so long? Give us the key." Not sorry, not can we talk, not we should have asked. Just entitlement, pure entitlement. I didn't even sugarcoat my response. "No," I said flatly. Adam looked up, confused. "What do you mean no? We're already here. And that's the problem." I shot back. "You're here without my permission. You can't just show up and treat this place like it belongs to you." Jenna scoffed. "Oh, please. Stop being dramatic, we're family." "Families share? Not my house," I said, my voice rising. "This isn't a toy. It's not a holiday rental. It's my private property, and none of you asked." My sister glared at me like I had personally insulted her soul. "You weren't even using it," she hissed. "Why does it matter?" And that sentence, those 5 careless, selfish words, were what truly broke something in me, because it summed up everything wrong with the dynamic we had. They believed that if I didn't use something 24/7, they were entitled to it, as if my hard work only held value if it benefited them. The argument escalated quickly. My mother eventually arrived because Jenna had called her, and instead of diffusing the situation, she made it worse by insisting I was overreacting. She kept parroting the same line, "We are family. Family shouldn't be so rigid." But I had had enough. For years I had been kind, generous, patient, and forgiving. And somehow all that had taught them was that they could keep taking. So I made the decision that would change everything. I told them, calmly but firmly, to leave. Not stay for the weekend, not stay for the night, leave the property immediately. Jenna exploded. Adam walked off, cursing under his breath. My mom kept insisting that I was hurting her feelings. But I didn't budge. I didn't let a single one of them through that door. Later that day, after hours of arguing and guilt, tripping and emotional manipulation, my family finally left. But not before Jenna threatened that I'd regret treating them like strangers. The moment they drove off, I locked the door, called a locksmith, and changed every lock in the house. Not just the front one, all of them. Windows, back door, side entrance, even the storage room. I wasn't taking any chances. But after everything, I still couldn't shake the feeling that they would try something again. And I was right. Because the very next morning, before I could even enjoy a moment of peace, my phone buzzed with a notification from the security cameras I had installed months earlier for storms and break-ins. Except this time the break-in was coming from my own family. That was the moment I knew things were about to get much, much worse. And I knew I had a choice to make. Either protect my boundaries or let them walk all over me for the rest of my life. So that's the situation I was in. And before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and really think about it. What would you have done if your own family tried to move into your property without permission, got angry when you said no, and then came back the next day to try again? Would you have reacted calmly? Would you have let them in? Would you have stood your ground? Because the next part of this story, things get messy, very messy. When my phone buzzed with the motion alert from the beach house security cameras the next morning, my stomach dropped so fast I felt physically sick. I had barely slept after the chaos from the previous day, my mind running wild with all the arguments, the accusations, the way my own family had made me feel like I was some sort of villain for simply protecting what was mine. I thought changing the locks would be enough. I thought they would calm down, sleep on it, and maybe realize how crazy they had acted. But as soon as I opened the live feed, all hope of that evaporated instantly, because standing right there in front of my door, once again, were Jenna and Adam. And this time, they weren't pretending to be innocent. They weren't smiling. They weren't just asking for the spare key. No, this time, they were trying to foresee their way in. I could hear their voices through the microphone, loud and angry. Jenna was pacing back and forth, her arms waving dramatically like she was protesting unfair treatment. "I know he changed the locks," she snapped to Adam, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "But he can't keep us out. Mom said this house was bought for the whole family. He's just being petty. Bought for the whole family." That was the biggest lie I had ever heard. I bought that house on my own, with my own money, after years of sleepless nights and grinding through work while they wasted time and made excuses. Yet somehow, in their twisted logic, they had convinced themselves that my success was a group accomplishment. Adam, who was usually the quieter one, was fiddling with something near the doorknob. Screwdriver. Small toolkit. My heart sank. He wasn't just trying to enter, he was trying to pry the lock apart. "If he thinks he can just lock us out," Adam muttered, "who's out of his mind. He doesn't even live here full time. This place is wasted on him." I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my keys, my jacket, and got into my car, my hands trembling with equal parts fury and disbelief. But as I drove, one overwhelming thought kept echoing in my head. What kind of people try to break into someone else's house? What kind of family does that? The 30-minute drive felt like hours. I kept checking the camera feed at every red light, terrified I would see them inside. And honestly, the fear wasn't just about property damage. It was the fear of a boundary so severely violated that I didn't know if our relationship could ever recover. By the time I reached the beach road, my heart was pounding like a drum in my chest. I parked abruptly and walked toward the house, my footsteps crunching on the gravel. From a distance, I could already see them standing there. Jenna was banging on the door with the palm of her hand, shouting my name like she was the victim in all this. Adam was still crouched near the lock. They didn't notice me until I was only a few feet away. The moment Jenna turned and saw me, her expression twisted. Anger, relief, self-righteousness all blended together into something ugly. "Finally," she snapped. "What is wrong with you? You seriously changed the locks on us? Your own family?" I didn't answer her at first. I was staring at Adam, who stood up slowly, avoiding my eyes like a child caught stealing. "Tell me you didn't just try to break into my house," I said. My voice was low, controlled, but shaking with the effort it took not to explode. He shrugged, defensive. "We weren't breaking in. We were getting in. There's a difference." "It's literally the definition of breaking in," I shot back. "This is illegal. Like actual criminal behavior." Jenna folded her arms and glared at me. "Stop being dramatic. Mom said this house is for all of us. You're acting like you own the whole planet." "I do own this house," I yelled, louder than I intended. "You don't live here. You don't pay for it. You don't maintain it. You don't even ask before showing up. Why do you think you have any right to be here?" But instead of reflecting on anything I said, Jenna doubled down. "Because we're family. That's why." "You owe us?" Those words hit me like a punch. Owe them. Owe them for what? For years of disrespect. For taking advantage of me every chance they got. For never once acknowledging how hard I worked. My voice cracked when I responded. "I don't owe you anything. I've given and given and given. And all you've done is assume it's your right." "Well, it's not." That struck a nerve. Jenna stepped closer, invading my space. "You've changed," she hissed. "Money changed you. Success changed you. You think you're better than us now?" "No," I said quietly. "I'm just tired of being used." The silence that followed was heavy. It hung in the air like a storm cloud about to crack open. Then, without warning, Jenna tried to push past me. "Move. We're going inside." "I'm not dealing with your nonsense today." Instinct kicked in, and I blocked her path. That was when she completely lost it. She shoved me, not hard enough to knock me over, but hard enough to shock me. "We're in to ruin this house," she screamed, "with or without you." That was the breaking point. I pulled out my phone and held it up so they could see. "If either of you take one step onto this property, I am calling the police." For the first time, Adam looked genuinely nervous. "Dude, chill," he said, putting his hands up. "You're not calling the cops on your own family." But I had reached that place emotionally where calm didn't exist anymore. "Watch me," I said, my thumb hovering over the screen. "Try me." He looked at Jenna as if waiting for her to back down, but she didn't. She stood tall, eyes blazing with challenge. "Do it," she said. "Let's see how you explain to Mom that you had your own siblings arrested." It was all manipulation, all pressure, all guilt. But I had finally learned something. People only use guilt when they have no real argument, and I was done being guilt-tripped, so I dialed the number. Jenna's face fell. She hadn't expected me to actually go through with it. She reached forward, trying to snatch the phone from my hand. "Stop it! What the hell is wrong with you?" But it was too late. The call went through. I told the dispatcher everything, calmly, clearly, firmly. I explained that individuals were attempting to force entry onto my private property. I didn't say they were family. I didn't say I knew them. I didn't say they were siblings. Because in that moment, they weren't any of those things. They were trespassers. And the law didn't care about family drama. The dispatcher said officers were on their way. And when I ended the call, the look Jenna gave me was something I will never forget. Like betrayal, disbelief, and rage had fused into one expression. "Are you insane?" she shouted. "You just destroyed this family." "No," I said quietly. "I'm saving myself from being destroyed by it." Adam paced back and forth, rubbing his hands through his hair, muttering that this was going too far. But I was done. Completely done. We stood there in tense silence for several minutes until the patrol car pulled up. The officers stepped out, professional and neutral. They asked what was going on. Before I could speak, Jenna jumped in, pointing at me dramatically. "He's our brother," she said. "This is a misunderstanding." The officer held up a hand. "Mom, we need to hear from the property owner." I stepped forward, heart pounding but steady. "This is my house," I said. "I have proof of ownership. They are refusing to leave and attempted to open the door without permission." The officer nodded. "Do you want them removed from the property?" That question felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. If I said yes, everything would change, forever. But if I said no, nothing would ever change ever. Jenna stared at me, her eyes silently screaming, "Don't you dare." Adam looked at me like he hoped I'd given, just this once. But I thought about everything. Every time they took advantage of me, every boundary they ignored, every guilt trip, every expectation that I would always bend. And I realized they weren't scared of losing me. They were scared of losing access to what I provided. So I took a breath, lifted my chin, and said the word that sealed everything. "Wes?" Jenna gasped like I had stabbed her. Adam whispered, "Dude," but the officers didn't hesitate. They instructed my siblings to step away from the property. When Jenna refused, they warned her again, more firmly. Finally, Adam pulled her back, muttering that it wasn't worth getting arrested. They walked to the sidewalk, seething. "This isn't over," Jenna spat. "She already knows," I said quietly, and she helped cause it. They left, furious, humiliated, and as soon as they were gone, the officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I didn't. I wasn't trying to ruin their lives. I just wanted peace. I wanted them to understand that I was serious. But even after the officers left, I felt heavy, shaken, like something monumental had shifted inside me. I stayed at the beach house the rest of that day, mostly to make sure no one returned. I checked every lock, every window, even the gate. And then came the messages. First my mom blowing up my phone with paragraph after paragraph. "How could you? Why didn't you talk to me first? You embarrassed your siblings. You made the family look bad. You're cruel. You're heartless." Over and over, the same manipulative tone she always used when she didn't get her way. Then the extended family got involved, because of course Jenna told them everything, except the actual truth. My aunt said I should be ashamed. My cousin asked why I was acting rich. Another relative said I was disrespectful. Not one person asked what actually happened. Not one person asked how I felt. Not one person cared about the fact that my siblings tried to force their way into my property. That night, sitting alone on the porch of the beach house, listening to the waves crash, I broke down. Not because of guilt, but because of realization. Realization that my family had never really respected me. They respected what I gave them, what I provided, what I made possible. But me, the person, the human being, they didn't see me at all. And when I stopped giving, when I drew the smallest boundary, they turned on me instantly. But something changed in me that night. Something settled inside my chest like a quiet resolve. I wasn't going to live my life being walked on anymore. I wasn't going to be the family ATM, the emotional punching bag, the free vacation provider, the sibling who never said no. No more. In the days that followed, I went no contact fully. I blocked Jenna, blocked Adam, muted my mom, ignored every guilt-tripping voice message, and for the first time in years I felt free, really free. I went back to my regular life, worked, relaxed, visited the beach house whenever I wanted, and felt the peace I had fought so hard for. Weeks passed without any drama, until one day my mother showed up. Not at the beach house, at my apartment, standing at my door with a bag in her hand and tears in her eyes, and I felt my stomach twist, because I knew exactly what was coming. She wanted reconciliation, but not real reconciliation. She wanted me to apologize. Again, she wanted me to bend again. She wanted me to undo everything that had finally protected my peace. She didn't even say hello before launching into her monologue. "I raised you better than this," she said. "Family sticks together. Family shares, family forgives." I didn't interrupt her. I let her say every rehearsed line, every guilt-laden sentence, and when she was finally done, I told her the truth she never wanted to hear. "Mom, I love you. But I'm not your doormat. I'm not their provider. I'm not responsible for Jenna's stress or Adam's job losses. I worked for what I have. I earned it. And you don't get to give away things that aren't yours." She opened her mouth to argue, but I didn't let her. "If you want a relationship with me," I continued, "it will be on equal terms, with respect, with boundaries, with the understanding that my property is mine. My money is mine. My life is mine. And no means no." Her eyes filled with tears, but this time I didn't fold. I didn't apologize to make her feel better. She left quietly. Sad, maybe disappointed. But I think deep down she understood she no longer had control over me. Strangely enough, after that moment things started changing. Slowly, quietly, but definitely changing. It took a few weeks before Jenna reached out. Not to yell this time, not to guilt trip, but to say, "I'm sorry, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real." She said she knew she had crossed the line. She said she knew trying to force her way in was wrong. And she said she understood now that the beach house wasn't hers. I didn't fully trust her again, but I appreciated the apology. Adam apologized too eventually, less emotionally, more casually, but at least he admitted he messed up. My mom never apologized completely. She softened. She grew quieter, she respected the boundaries more. But she never fully said the words, and that's okay, because I said mine. Now, looking back on everything, I still replay that moment in my head, the one where I had to choose between protecting my boundaries or protecting their comfort. And you know what? I'd choose the same thing again, every single time, because in the end, the only person who has to protect your peace is you. If you were on my side through all of this, like this video. If you think family doesn't give you the right to trespass, hit that subscribe button for more stories like this. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if your own family tried to move into your house without permission? I'll see you all in the next story.